Okay, this is evaluation number 3, and there isn't too much to this. Um, I did a big body of work for marketing. So I did an extension to marketing and created a rough idea of what our marketing strategy should look like and where to post. I'm very happy with the work that I've done there. Um, I don't know if I necessarily have to go back over it, but I analysed 3 of the top esports promotions in the world. I analysed where do they post, which yeah, so I'm happy with that is what I'm going to say for now. I'll come back to that actually. Um, for improvements, I should have analysed the website making too and discussed how the Dragons could utilise a website because I looked at the social media aspect and I guess technically a website is social media potentially, but I didn't actually I didn't look at how they've made a website and it was the top thing that popped up for all of them. So obviously it's quite important. So I probably should have went over the fact that we're missing out on having a website for the Dragons, which would link to the Twitter and the Twitch and the YouTube and the TikTok or whatever, and that would also redirect people, and that could have information. So that's definitely something to consider and look into. Um, I made the suggested improvements to the existing, pardon me, to the existing visual concept that were listed up here. Um, but I have yet to make additional visuals. I'll come back to them if I have the time, but as of now, I'm going to work on other things to make sure everything else is up to standard. Now, I say that because I've received my interim feedback. Interim feedback is not great in all categories, it's not great. Um, but I've had a look, and I think it's possible that Jordan looked. Sorry, Jordan. I think it's possible that my work was looked at. Either before I just started putting everything on the site, or I don't know. Maybe it was looked at a little bit early. Obviously I missed some time, so it could just this could just be me being narcissistic. But I'm fairly certain I've kind of evidenced everything that is discussed here to at least a pass level. Again, I could be being narcissistic when I say this, but I just want to talk about it and kind of go through it. So for context, 1.1, analyze the characteristics of the audience for a chosen creative media production activity. A good start, just be sure that you make use of the research to give clear characteristics of your audience. Think about demographics, gender, etc. So if we go to this body of work here, demographics and psychographics, we went over um, we went over whether or not people. So this, I guess, I don't know if this is a psychographic or a demographic, but we discussed characteristics of the audience by do they watch esports events? If yes, do they watch low-level esports events, or is it all just like high-level top 500 Overwatch League level stuff? So then we looked at that, and then we found out that actually these people watch Semper Community, so we used that information, and we've actually drawn a lot of inspiration from Semper. Um, I guess we should probably come back to that in a minute though. We looked at age, we looked at gender. I kind of made the decision that gender is not going to change anything whatsoever, um, because I just don't see how the gender of the audience could really change that much. Maybe I'm being naive. Um, and then I discussed the age demographic. Everybody's over the age of 16, which means that we can probably come off a little bit more mature. There doesn't have to be that level of immaturity, but still no swearing because it's a college stream, but also the game as well is a 12. So that was another thing. So we have looked at the age. I don't feel as if these things necessarily mattered as much. This was the main one, the timing wise. Can we um can we hit this perfect demographic? And we even looked at listed hobbies, and most of the listed hobbies for these people were gaming. Uh, Hold on. Most of the listed hobbies were cycling, Overwatch, gaming, Overwatch, gaming, esports casting. I assume that also includes Overwatch and gaming as well. So I think we have definitely looked at that. Okay, carrying on. So I do believe that I've looked at the characteristics of the audience and I've analysed them, and I think that we have shown that we've at the very least looked at it, and I understand that there's potentially more room, or that maybe there's expected to be more analysis and more development from this, but I don't see necessarily what more can be done besides what we've done, which I'll kind of do a conclusion at the end and discuss that. 1.2 Research. Interpret research activity to develop ideas and creative proposals for a chosen audience. Interpret research activity to develop ideas. Yep, there we go. Took a second to click in my mind. So that is the one that I wanted to talk about actually with the Semper community. So we go to responses here, and there wasn't, we weren't really being given the most opportunity here, because I said, do people watch smaller level tournaments? And then people just listed the tournaments that are up here. That was due to poor survey making from me though. My bad. But somebody did mention Semper. Now, Semper stood out to me as the only one that was specifically named that was just Overwatch, that was just low level tournaments, which we could definitely take a bit of inspiration off. So we took this information that we had and then we went and developed all of our graphics based off of what the Semper community stuff looks like. So again, I would argue that we have um, that we have succeeded in this, and it's not an extensive amount of research, um, but it is very much what we have, and we've drawn inspiration. So we did this research, and then we went and looked at Semper and found more research. And actually, that's not necessarily true either because of marketing extension, which is where we went and looked at other top promotions. And now that we've done that, we then saw, well, how do they promote? So then we've looked at their X, we've looked at their TikTok, we've looked at their YouTube, which were the top three social medias, in my opinion, that we could have looked at. And then we analysed this and then decided, based on an esports community, um, where do people like to have their see their outputs, and then we've made decisions on how we would market based off of that. Um, so again, I feel like we're kind of hitting that sweet spot of we've looked into it, what do other people do, what are people who watch Overwatch esports saying, and we're trying to replicate that. So I do feel as if we're using research to back up our ideas for a chosen audience. Um, Practical skills 2.1. Demonstrate independence in decision making in planning and developing creative solutions. Evidence. Ooh. Demonstrate independence in making and developing creative solutions. Content creation. Photoshop, Illustrator, Canva, After Effects, AI. Question mark. Mockups, mugs, etc. Again, this is kind of what leads me to believe that maybe this was done a little bit sooner because I feel like this visuals and audio work was done fairly early on. If we go over here and then we go to practical skills, we've looked at visual concepts, we've made visual concepts, and actually I need to add the revised visual concepts like I was talking about earlier, which we've now even done improvements on them to make them better, which again we did that through referencing with Semper and stuff. Select appropriate media and processes to communicate ideas for an identified audience. Ensure that branding is appropriate for the audience. And again, we have done this. I feel like these two kind of tie together because we've done planning through the research, and then we've made it using the research, we've made it targeted. We have um, we've made it for the audience. We've made it for the chosen audience that we have. If we go to um, I'm struggling here. I can't think. Stream visuals. Here we go. This is what we wanted. This is what the Overwatch League does. Semper. This is what Semper did. Um, that was not the right one, but you get the idea. Maybe it was this one. No, it was not. But anyway, I'm losing my train of thought. Um, but I do think we have clearly shown that it is um, designed for the audience that we have. We found the audience, um, which I personally would argue it's just Overwatch enjoyers, and that is who we need to target. I don't think the age and the gender matters. Such a diverse and inclusive game that it is loved by a lot of people and by a lot of communities. It's very diverse. Um, so I think that we're definitely showing that the practical skills is backed up by research for a chosen audience. And then evaluation. Critically evaluate creative solutions against audience characteristics. Critically evaluate and reflect on learning to inform personal development. Pardon me. So, um, we're critically reflecting on an audience. As we said before, I should have analysed the website making 2 and discussed how the Dragons could utilise a website to help appeal for our audience. Um, because obviously the number one thing that pops up when you search the big things is the website. If you search up Chandrika Dragons, it is our Twitter, and then it's British Esports, our clothing, and then some images, and then it just goes straight to the college. It would probably be best if we had a website come up first, which then had links to all of our social medias and all of our events and discussed upcoming games and stuff. Um, that would be more ideal. So we have definitely um, evaluated ourselves for a chosen audience. It's the same thing again, evaluating this work for a chosen audience, or evaluating our research for a chosen audience. Um, reflect on learning to inform personal development. And I would argue that this list here was good for personal development, seeing and discussing how we can develop our work, but also just this entire page is just good for personal development. It's self-reflection. I don't know why this turned into me trying to justify that I deserve a higher grade, but I want to reflect on it, and I don't feel like I deserve a fail because I do feel like I'm meeting those criteria. Um, but yeah, that is everything up until today. And then we've got one more full week, and then I'll probably do a final evaluation on the whole project at the end. Um, but yeah, that's everything.